They said it out loud, and once those words left his mouth, there was no going back. Because when Ryan Clark said he was taking the Bears over the 49ers, it wasn't just a pick, it was a challenge. A line drawn in the sand against everything people think they know about the NFL power structure. And that's exactly why this moment exploded the way it did, because this wasn't some casual take. This was a declaration that flipped the entire narrative on its head and forced everyone watching to ask themselves whether they've been lying to themselves about Chicago and hiding behind comfort with San Francisco's reputation. This wasn't about respect anymore. It was about belief, about daring to say out loud that the team everyone buried before the season even started might actually be the one standing tallest when it matters most. And when Ryan Clark leaned in and said he believes in Caleb Williams, believes in this Bears defense, believes in this coaching staff, it hit like a gut punch to the league because it challenged the safety of conventional thinking. People are comfortable calling the 49ers elite. They're comfortable praising the system, the weapons, the history. But comfort doesn't win championships, conviction does. And that's what made this moment combustible. Because suddenly the conversation wasn't about who should win. It was about who dares to believe something different. And when you hear the conviction in his voice, when you hear the way he frames the Bears not as a fluke but as a team, with an identity, with grit, with answers, you start to feel that uncomfortable question creeping in. What if he's right? What if the Bears really are that team? What if everything we thought we knew about the NFC is wrong? That's why this moment matters. That's why this take exploded, and that's why you couldn't look away once it started. And once the shock settled, the conversation snapped into focus. The question was simple on the surface, Bears or 49ers, but underneath it was a referendum on belief, trajectory, and pressure. Ryan Clark didn't hesitate. He pointed straight at Chicago and said it with his chest. He talked about the run game, about how the Bears are moving people off the line, about how their defense is forcing turnovers and creating chaos, and most importantly, about how Caleb Williams has been clutch when the lights are brightest. Fourth quarter comebacks, poise under pressure, command of the moment. That's the part that changes everything. Because talent is one thing, but belief under pressure is something else entirely. And then he tied it all together with trust in Ben Johnson, in the message, in the culture, in the way this team carries itself. This wasn't hype. This was conviction built on what he's seeing week after week. And that's when the conversation widened. Because on the other side, the 49ers aren't some broken team. They're efficient, they're dangerous, they're loaded. They haven't punted in December. Brock Purdy is playing clean football. Christian McCaffrey is still a nightmare. That offensive line is steady. This is a team that knows how to win. But that's also where the tension lives. Because when a team is that polished, the margin for error becomes microscopic. One mistake feels heavier. One turnover feels louder. One bad decision feels fatal. And that's where this matchup becomes fascinating. Because the Bears thrive in chaos. They thrive when things break down. They thrive when quarterbacks have to move, when plays extend, when instincts take over. And suddenly the conversation isn't about who looks better on paper. It's about who survives the moment. And right there, the discussion deepens. The 49ers are efficient, but are they resilient? They've been winning, but have they been tested the way Chicago has? Because the Bears have lived in uncomfortable games. They've lived in fourth quarters where everything is on the line. They've lived in moments where Caleb Williams has had to escape, improvise, and create something out of nothing, and that matters. That experience shapes a quarterback, that forges trust in a locker room. You hear it when they talk about his ability to avoid sacks, to extend plays, to make defenders miss, to keep his eyes downfield. You hear it when they talk about how calm he looks, how confident he feels, how he stands in the pocket when he knows he can take a hit. That's not something you teach. That's something you either have or you don't. And that's why this conversation caught fire, because it wasn't just analysis, it was an indictment of comfort versus courage. And then the debate widens even more. Now we're talking about sustainability. Can the Bears keep forcing turnovers? Can they keep winning ugly? Can they keep riding this emotional edge? And that's where the skepticism creeps in. Because history tells us that turnovers are volatile, that chaos eventually evens out. But then again, History also tells us that belief can carry a team further than logic ever will. And that's the tension at the heart of this discussion. Because while some see regression coming, others see growth. They see a young quarterback learning in real time. They see a defense that feeds off momentum. They see a coaching staff that has figured out how to maximize what they have instead of wishing for what they don't. And that's why this debate refuses to die. Because both sides have receipts. And then, almost seamlessly, the conversation expands beyond just this game. It turns into a referendum on the entire conference. The 49ers are being framed as this quiet juggernaut, a team that doesn't get enough respect despite the numbers, despite the wins, despite the efficiency. They've got an offense that can score at will, a defense that can tighten up when it needs to, and a roster that's built to win now. But even in that praise, there's an undercurrent of doubt. Because people are still asking whether they've truly been tested, whether they've beaten anyone that forces them into discomfort. And that's where the Bears come back into the picture. Because Chicago represents unpredictability. They represent the unknown. And nothing scares a great team more than a game they can't fully script. From there, the conversation spills into the broader landscape of the league. Because that's what these debates always do. You start talking about one matchup, and suddenly you're talking about what makes a contender, what defines a championship team, and who actually deserves to be in the conversation. That's how the Eagles and Bills enter the discussion. That's how questions about quarterback pressure, defensive reliability, and postseason expectations take center stage. And the theme stays consistent. Who can be trusted when it matters? Who can protect the football? Who can execute when the margin disappears? It's not about flash. It's about composure. And that's where the weight really lands on players like Josh Allen. Because when you strip everything else away, expectations don't disappear, they concentrate. When you're the guy, when the system leans on you, when the roster is built around you, there are no more excuses. And that's why the conversation around Buffalo feels so heavy, because there's no hiding from it anymore. If it doesn't happen now, when does it happen? And that same pressure, that same spotlight, is what's now being aimed at Chicago from the opposite angle. Not pressure to prove they belong, but pressure to prove they're real. And that's what makes this entire conversation so compelling. It's not just about one game or one pick. It's about belief colliding with expectation. It's about whether chaos can beat control. It's about whether confidence can outweigh pedigree. And it's about whether a team everyone counted out can force the entire league to reevaluate what they thought they knew. Ryan Clark didn't just pick the Bears. He challenged the NFL's comfort zone. He dared everyone to look past logos and legacies and actually watch what's happening on the field. And once that seed is planted, you can't unsee it. Because now, when you think about this matchup, you're not just thinking about schemes or stats. You're thinking about momentum. You're thinking about belief. You're thinking about a young quarterback who doesn't flinch and a locker room that feeds off that energy. You're thinking about a team that wasn't supposed to be here but refuses to leave the conversation. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. It's not safe. It's not comfortable. It's provocative. And it forces everyone watching to pick a side. And that's why this discussion has people talking. Because whether you agree or not, you feel it. You feel the tension. You feel the stakes. You feel the possibility that the narrative is shifting right in front of us. And once that thought takes hold, once you start wondering if the Bears really can do this, there's no going back. That's the power of a take like this. It doesn't just predict a game. It challenges the entire league's perception. And that's exactly why this moment matters.